Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. My name is Muhammad Nuruddin Lemu, a director of the Da'wah Institute of Nigeria. And inshallah we'll carry on this series where we look at the purification of the heart, self-improvement, how to be a better human being, how to be a better Muslim, how to be godlier, if I may use that word, and how to overcome some of the common obstacles and diseases of the heart that become impediments to our growth, our spiritual, our ethical, and social improvement. Inshallah, we have looked in past series on certain critical ingredients in overcoming obstacles. We've looked at obstacles such as heedlessness and lack of curiosity. I don't know, I don't want to know, it doesn't really matter, and things that just keep us in that well of ignorance where we think that the sky we see from inside the well is the only sky that's there. And we've discussed how to overcome some of those type of obstacles, the problems with those kind of obstacles, the problem of showcasing brilliance and showcasing the gifts that Allah has given you and thinking you are better than others, the problems to do with defensiveness and not allowing yourself to grow, recognize your mistakes, apologize, and where we sometimes get so good at producing excuses that just keep us where we are, and we just carry on in life, as if we're on a roundabout motion but no progress, no action. The other problem we have is that of being comparative, always looking at what others have, and if somebody has more than mine or what I have, we look down upon our own, and we look down upon Allah's ni'mah and Allah's blessings and all the gifts that He has given us, because we don't count our blessings. We count other people's blessings and we don't count our own. The other problem that is very common is that of trying to seek acceptance of others at the cost of seeking Allah's acceptance, trying to please others, being too carried away, too concerned with what are people saying, what are people thinking about me, instead of how does Allah think about me. This whole attitude of trying to please others, where your ring of friends, your ring of workmates, your classmates, your colleagues become like your precious ring that you can't live without, and what they feel just means everything, instead of what does Allah think. We've discussed the importance of humility in overcoming problems to do with arrogance, of showcasing brilliance, the role of curiosity, also in how to overcome this attitude of I don't know, I don't want to know, it doesn't really matter. And it does matter. If you want to grow, you must be curious, you must be humble. If you want to grow, you must be very careful about your defensive attitudes and character. If you want to grow, if you want people to be more open, you would have to cut down significantly on how you express pride or arrogance towards others. If you have to grow, you have to learn to count your blessings and be grateful. If you want to grow, you must learn to be yourself, have integrity, sincerity, veracity, be truthful, be honest to yourself and to others. Otherwise, it's difficult for you to be a positive influence if you are not really being yourself. You just become a hypocrite. You are like a compass that has lost its polarity. You don't know where you are heading, and any road is just as good as any road. Any group of friends is just as good as any group of friends. Why? Because you're not sure where you want to go. Any bus going in any direction is as good as any other bus. Why? Because you really don't know what your destination is. So it's good for you to be true to your values, in and out, and recognizing that growth is inside then outside. Allah doesn't change your condition until you are ready to change what is in yourself. In other words, if you want to see improvement in life, you have to work on your inside. And as you be better, do better, the world responds to you. As we've said over and over again, you can't get people to like you, but you can be more likable. But you don't want to be attracting just flies, anybody. You would like to attract good people. You don't want to attract people who want to take you off the straight path, misguide you. And so a quality that is tied to integrity, sincerity, veracity, being true to your conscience, being true to your Creator, is ikhlas. Sincerity of purpose, sincerity when it comes to pleasing Allah, and really focusing on God consciousness. Taqwa. It's that quality that ensures that the remembrance of Allah keeps us on the right path, makes us ensure, taqwa makes us ensure that in all decision making, Allah is an important, actually the most important factor. That anything that is going to displease Allah displeases us. That you are conscious of Allah the way you are time conscious, conscious of a loved one waiting for you, conscious of working hours coming to an end, conscious of it's getting darker, conscious of food when you are hungry. That in all decisions, Allah is a critical factor in decision making. That is God consciousness. Not just about knowledge of Allah. Even Shaitan is knowledgeable about Allah, but he lacks the consciousness of Allah, that Allah is a factor in decision making, that he is interested in pleasing Allah. We need to be interested in pleasing Allah. And so when we do things fi sabilillah, it's not just to seek Allah's pleasure, that's there too. But when we look carefully at what does seeking Allah's pleasure entail, it entails multiple purposes, not just let me do it the way Allah wants, but what you find is what Allah wants is what's good for you. Allah wants you to have a good relationship with your wife, with your husband. It's good for you in this world, but that is actually the path to good in the hereafter. That Allah's way, the way of Allah that Allah is calling us to follow when He says do things fi sabilillah, that the end is to Allah, but the means also are what please Allah. And when we look at everything, it's about being good, being kind, being selfless, really caring. The kind of person that Allah wants you to become is the kind of person you would want people around you to be. People who care for good, people who are truthful, people who are helpful, people who are compassionate. That's the kind of person we always want around us. That's the kind of group, that's what we would like our children to be. Helpful, respectful, compassionate, knowledgeable, kind, wise, fair, just, merciful, forgiving, useful. But that's exactly what Allah is asking you to become. And sincerity is that struggle to try and be better at what Allah wants you to become. And so when we talk about doing things fi sabilillah, in Allah's way, we shouldn't confuse it with free sabilillah. That when you're going to do something seeking Allah's pleasure, it means it is, as they say, good things not cheap, cheap things no good. That because it's free, it's not really good. No. Fi sabilillah means you're doing it to please Allah. You will give Allah the best. Allah deserves more than your best. But He's not asking you for anything more than just the best you can do. Mastadatu. And the Prophet said the same. The Prophet said, when I order you to do something, do to the best of your ability. And so when we come to this subject of sincerity, it is important that we recognize that when Allah says we should do something, and there's no argument whether Allah meant this. No, once you're sure, Allah says you should stand for justice, you should be truthful, you should be forgiving, then you should trust Allah's wisdom, that is actually in your best interest too. That we should recognize that Allah's wisdom is superior to the wisdom of friends, of contexts, of situations, of culture, especially when it comes to values like truthfulness, compassion, justice. You don't have, under current circumstances, justice may not be a good idea. No, forgiveness is not a good idea. Forgiveness is really giving up a right. And sometimes it's the best thing to do. May not be always the best thing to do. Sometimes you want somebody to learn a lesson. But why are you wanting somebody to learn a lesson because you want to save others from that person's repeated cruelty. In other words, your not forgiving is because of your compassion towards future victims. So while justice is viewed as the opposite of compassion, no, justice is actually compassion to victims or future victims. Justice is compassion to future victims, and the perpetrator, you're insisting, should be shown justice so as to save others from that type of cruelty, to prevent others from taking the law into their own hands and actually doing further injustice. So when we are trying to be sincere, when we are trying to live a life that is honest to ourselves, you're being yourself, you're being real, you're looking for integrity, you're looking for a way of life that your conscience is at home with, Allah is at peace with, that you are internally self-motivated towards being good and better than you are. And sincerity, veracity, and integrity is tested most when there's disagreement, when there's tension. If you disagree with your wife or your son or a good friend or anybody, don't be quick to, no, there's no disagreement, and you start to become some hypocrite, start to pretend. That's a mask you're putting on. Let people know who you really are, how you really feel. Be sincere, be honest, be truthful. If you don't like something, be polite, but don't economize on the truth, especially if it is something that relates to the rights of others. And so when we look at what do we mean by integrity, veracity, being truthful, it is ensuring that there is agreement between what you say and what you think, and how you feel and what you believe, and how you act and what you do. That each of these should all be in alignment. That what you say and think is in line with what you believe and feel and what you act and do. And all that go together. Then people see you with integrity. So as we move into the next issue, commitment to serving Allah, let's remember that in everything we do, in our curiosity to learn, in humility, in commitment, sincerity, ikhlas, is one of the most important qualities, because even if you are sincerely wrong, Allah still rewards you for your sincerity and doesn't punish you, because your actions are judged by your intentions. So that's sincerity of intentions, something scholars keep reminding us to do, to renew our intention, to recalibrate our commitment to doing things that please Allah. These are very critical for Allah to accept our lives and for us to live a life where we are at peace with our conscience, our decisions, what we say, what we do, what we think, what we feel, and what we believe. We'll take a short break and inshallah come back on the subject of commitment to serving Allah better. Assalamu alaikum.